स्कूल टेक्सला। मैं अपने स्कूल के हवाले से ये कहना चाहूँगी कि चूँकि मेरा स्कूल अभी तो प्राइमरी तक है, ये जो बिल्डिंग है ये प्राइमरी के लिहाज से प्राइमरी के हवाले से बिल्कुल ठीक है, लेकिन अगर हम इस स्कूल को आगे लेके जाना चाहें, क्योंकि मेरी अपनी भी ये ख्वाहिश है कि मैं स्कूल को अपने बच्चों को बहुत आगे तक लेके जाऊँ, तो उसके लिए मुझे आगे बिल्डिंग चाहिए होगी कि हम उसको स्टैंडी करें, हम इसको आगे अपग्रेड करें, मेरे बच्चे बहुत आगे तक जाएं। और जब मेरे बच्चे 5th क्लास पास करके यहाँ से जाते हैं तो यकीन करें कि वो रो रहे होते हैं कि मैडम हमें और मौका दिया जाता है कि हम इसी बिल्डिंग में रह के अपनी इन्हीं टीचर्स के साथ अपनी तालीम का सफ़र जारी रखते हैं। तो चूँकि अभी ऐसी हमारे पास फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं हैं, तो अल्लाह करे कि हमारे पास भी ये फैसिलिटीज़ हों कि हमारी बिल्डिंग जो है वो इतनी उसमें गुंजाइश हो कि उसमें स्टैंडिंग क्लासेस का आगाज़ किया जाए और यहाँ पे कम्युनिटी के लोग भी खुश हों, मेरे बच्चे भी बहुत ज़्यादा खुश होंगे, मेरा स्टाफ, मैं खुद, और ये कि TCF के साथ तालीम का ये सफ़र जो है वो इसी तरह जारी रहेगा और मेरा स्कूल इंशाअल्लाह खुद बहुत तरक्की करेगा।
Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome. We've been doing a lot of preparing to welcome you to this Northeast Ohio celebration of our Taxila campus. Taxila, chocolate, fancy footwear, that's the theme of today. I really am grateful for you all coming together. Some of you from out of state, some of you international, to partake in this, what we consider to be a celebration. So I want to first start by acknowledging some key players in this initiative. Mr. Salim Ahmed, who's on with us today, Mr. Daniel Nourani is on us today, and of course my wonderful team on the ground who helps me with everything, Zishan Gauba, Farid Sadiq, Ansar Junaid, to name but a few, Yasmin, Rashid. Thank you so much for helping me for the past 3-4 years execute wonderful events. We bring wonderful things to you, and in the meantime, we're also doing wonderful things. We have, the Zoom format's a little unconventional, but on the other hand, it allows us to reach a larger audience. So I think that this is wonderful. So people who have been part of the Northeast Ohio community and have contributed both financially or in their spirit, they are partaking as well. If you have any questions at any time, what we thought would be smart would be just for you to put them in the chat and at the end, and they can be directed towards anyone that's hosting this meeting. And I'm simply a moderator. This is our meeting. We have a lot of fun things that we're going to be doing today, talking to the principal and some of the key players, as I mentioned to you before. So I want to first by introducing a very treasured member of our community. You all know him, Salim Ahmed, and he's going to tell a few words about how all this came to be. Salim bhai, if you can take it from there, you may want to unmute your microphone.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. It is really, we are really happy to see all of the main donors who are gathered here today to celebrate the opening of the Taxila Secondary School. And I'm very happy that all of you have been able to come and join us to listen to this, this event, enjoy this event. just to let you know, I like to recognize some of the people who were supposed to join outside the state, and those are basically from East Coast to West Coast. Uh, Farooq Ahmed Saab, Dr. Farooq Ahmed, and Wasim and Nazra from New Jersey, Farah from Michigan, and Yasmin from Indianapolis, and and also my high school friend Shamimur Rahman from St. Louis, Missouri, and Zeba from Chicago, and Humayu Arif from Dallas, Texas, Ijaz Ali also from Dallas, Texas, and Javed Akram from Seattle, Washington. So we covered east to west, basically. And it is really nice to have you on board. And one more thing I would like to mention here, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Ijaz Ali and Razia for their 51st anniversary. And many more to come.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you. You're welcome. And it is quite a journey as to how the idea of Taxila School came about. And as you know, we have the chapter over here who started, their first school was in Mansehra. So it happened that we were in Pakistan, and we thought that we should go there and see how the school is being constructed there. So while we were in Islamabad, and there we met regional manager Nayab Khan, and who was ready to take us to Mansehra. And he asked us that would it be okay if we stop by at Taxila Primary School? I said, we agreed. So we went there and we met the principal, Saima, and whose video you have already seen, that she was passionate about the secondary school to be added to the primary school. And so anyway, the activity there they had at the school was the award ceremony. And so we sat down and saw the award ceremony after the event, before the event was ended. The principal asked me to say a few words to the 300 plus children and their parents to talk about, so I was taken by surprise because I was not prepared for it. Anyway, I mentioned that to them that Citizen Foundation is doing outstanding work to give you the best education possible in Pakistan for the underprivileged children of Pakistan. And it is their responsibility to get the best out of it. And when they grow up, make sure that you help your children go to the school and help the Citizen Foundation to keep their, these underprivileged children keep going, as much as possible. And then I mentioned to them, your principal talked to us about the secondary school. And I have to say this, that I cannot promise you that you will have the secondary school, but I can do this. I can promise you that I will do my best that you should get a secondary school. And when I said that, I had big applause, and I looked at their faces, they were desperate for this school, secondary school. And it really hit my, it was so, their applause was so contagious that I felt it in my heart that we have to do something or support them to fulfill their dreams. So what happened after that was we asked the headquarters, TCF headquarters in Karachi, to we want to take this project. And they mentioned, after looking into our picture of how the size of our chapter, it would have been very difficult to raise $380,000, which include not only the school, but also the cost of the land. And before that, it never happened that we have to pay for the land, because land is very expensive and people don't want to give away their land for any charitable causes. Anyway, so after quite deliberation between the management and some other top management people, they gave us the green light. And that was really the beginning of the dream come true. And at this time, I would like to thank all the board members of the TCF in Karachi and President Asad Saab and Vice President Zia Saab for their support. Also, I would like to General Manager Tariq Abbasi and Zahir Saab for keeping us in loop as to how the construction is going. So they did a good job, and I appreciate their help. And also in USA, I would like to point out that Arif Ghafoor Saab and Daniel Saab and Abdullah Jafri Saab played a major role in propagating our cause. And also I'd like to thank the staff, TCF USA staff, for helping us get this thing going. So what happened after that was there'll be, after making this possible, so the thing is, the USA team, let me rephrase here a little bit. At present, beside this school was built. And what happened was with the other people involved in this project, with their donation, we were able to, this campus consists of now 3 primary schools and 2 secondary schools, and enrollment of 350,000 children, which is outstanding. Alhamdulillah, our dream came through, and this project, with the help of a lot of people, this project came into being. And I would like to recognize a major contributor for this school, especially Junaid Ansar, Mayu Arif, Farid Siddiq, Yasmin Rashid, Ijaz Ali, Shafiq Faruqi, and Farooq Ahmed, and our family, Azra, Farah, Zeba, Naveed, and many, 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 many more. And it is, एक बात मैं यहाँ बताना चाहता हूँ, which is really बहुत ज़रूरी है, वो ये कि डॉक्टर फारूक अहमद यहाँ आए एक दफ़ा हमारे घर, उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा कि मैं भी स्कूल बनवाना चाहता हूँ, तो ये क्या गारंटी देंगे कि आप मेरे पैसे जो हैं वो ज़ाया ना जाएं। तो मैंने उनको बताया कि हम लोगों ने भी स्कूल बनाया अपने वालिदा और वालिद के लिए, पर सदका जारिया के तौर पर, और सिस्टर के लिए। तो ये है कि मैं कहूँगा कि मैं 100% गारंटी देता हूँ आपको कि आपके पैसे ज़ाया नहीं होंगे। तो पता नहीं डॉक्टर फारूक अहमद यहाँ है या नहीं है, लेकिन मैं ये ज़रूर कहूँगा कि उन्होंने जो शुरुआत की, it is incredible to hear his story. But he has given us 2 primary school and 1 secondary school, and I think he deserves a gold medal as far as I'm concerned.
मैं अभी जिंदा ही हूँ सलीम भाई.
You know, Salim Bhai, thank you so much for really, honestly, being the heart and soul of our community, spearheading this thing that is really the pride for all of us. You know, I want to pivot a little bit and take it from your vision and your spirit and enthusiasm, and I want to turn it to Mr. Daniel Noorani. And I want to introduce our community, of course, to Mr. Noorani, who founded TCF USA in May 2002. He served as president until 2008. And Mr. Noorani was then appointed as the CEO and managed the organization in that capacity until March 2015. Just a beacon in his own community, served as president and member of the board of Apna Ghar, which means Our Home, a 25-year-old agency for domestic violence survivors in Chicago. Mr. Noorani has worked at AT&T for 26 years, where he's taken a leading role in the efforts to introduce competition in the telecommunications industry. I want to pass it over to Mr. Noorani, who's going to talk about what TCF USA has done and how they manage these expectations. Thank you, Mr. Noorani, please.
Thank you very much, Nadia. So I'll take you back to the story of how TCF USA started and how the involvement of Cleveland and Northeast Ohio started in this whole campaign. तो शुरू में ये हुआ कि यहाँ मेरे वालिदैन, मेरे भाई बहन सब पाकिस्तान में होते थे. हर साल मैं जाता था उधर खानदान से और दोस्तों से मिलने के लिए. तो एक दोस्त हमें ले गया कि मैं तुम्हें कुछ चीज दिखाना चाहता हूँ. ये नहीं बताया कि क्या दिखाने वाले हैं. That turned out to be a TCF school. And that day, my wife and I fell in love with these children and fell in love with these teachers. I have never seen children more excited to be in school than these children. And I have never seen teachers more dedicated to these children as the teachers of TCF. So I told the TCF folks that, yeah, आपको कभी अमेरिका में कोई organization खोलना हो आपका काम को support करने के लिए, तो I'd like to help. तो 2002 में सब दोस्तों के साथ मिलके हमने TCF USA कायम किया. And one of the first people I met amongst the supporters was Salim Ahmed. And I've got to say that I have seldom met somebody as stubborn and as large-hearted as Salim Bhai. He also has another flaw. He does not understand the meaning of no or not possible. उर्दू में भी मैंने कोशिश किया ना कहने के लिए या नामुमकिन कहने के लिए. दोनों ज़बानों में वो ये उनकी vocabulary में है ही नहीं. So it was very interesting knowing him, and he started supporting TCF personally and also in the community, spreading it to his friends. As he mentioned, Farooq Ahmed se inki baat hui. Talked to Sayyid Ijaz Ali, talked to Fareed, and some of these people happen to be my friends or have become my friends, including Humayun. So the 2005 earthquake happened. And in the 2005 earthquake, all Pakistanis living in the US were really, determined to provide as much support as possible. And the people of Northeast Ohio under the umbrella of PAL collected enough money to build a school in the area that had been impacted by the earthquake. And this money, I'm sure Salim Bhai tried to tell them about TCF, but this money was given to a UN agency to build the school there. Well, what happened is that the UN agency had a lot of obligations, a lot of work to do, and 3 years passed away and the school had not started, and it was, they kind of acknowledged that this was beyond their, they had moved on to other areas for other disasters and other projects. So then Salim Bhai invited me, invited Mushtaq Chhabra, who was one of the founders of TCF, and had a meeting with the leaders of PAL. And so that's when I got to meet all the PAL people and become friends with them. And between Salim Bhai, his friends, Mushtaq and myself, we persuaded PAL that give us this money, we'll build you the school that the UN agency was not able to. And they agreed, and they got the money back from the UN agency and gave it to TCF. This was when a minor miracle took place. And that miracle was that TCF built the school that the UN agency hadn't been able to build for 3 or 4 years in 6 months. That was a record for TCF and probably a record for any organization to build a 6-classroom school with teacher's office and library and guard room and canteen and everything in a 6-month period. And that's when, you know, the PAL supporters and the other friends of Salim Bhai in Cleveland decided that this is an organization worth supporting. They built the second school in a place called Ogie, which they call the Ohio campus, and that is also doing very well. And then, as Salim Bhai told you, he went to Taxila, and all those traits of Salim Bhai that I mentioned, stubbornness, big heart, and the inability to accept no made this secondary school a reality. Because believe me, there were so many hindrances in our path. We started, first of all, there was the issue of the land, and we said, oh, there's no land. Salim Bhai said, okay, I and my friends will raise the money for the land too. Then we found the land, and then what happened is we started construction, and we ran into the problems with politics and bureaucracy in Pakistan. The construction was approved under the administration of one political party. Another political party came into power and decided to stop the project because it was associated with the first party. So excuses are found. You haven't submitted this paper or that paper. And it took a year for us to get the permission to restart the construction. And finally, we got the construction started. And by this time, we were delayed. So the school year started last year, and we didn't want any more children to miss the opportunity to go to secondary school with TCF. So we started at secondary school classes in temporary facilities. And that's, what you're seeing right now is the makeshift facilities. It is crowded, but it was better than these children losing a whole year. So that's what we started. And then, as if all of these problems are not enough, we had COVID. And that's, halted construction for a little while and halted classes. I think it was March when classes closed down, and the school year is still not over. And then we get into the story of TCF and the COVID crisis. तो ये जो आप देख रहे हैं, ये खूबसूरत सी स्कूल, ये सब आप लोगों की मेहनत, आप लोगों की का बड़ा दिल, और इस वजह से ये बनी है स्कूल. और अब ये बच्चों का फ्यूचर सेफ है. और ये जो प्लैक लगाई है उसमें भी बड़ा अच्छा मैसेज है आप लोगों की तरफ से. It's a message from Malcolm X. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. For the children of Taxila from the Northeast Ohio community. So take an applause, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Just a bit before we let you go, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, the challenges with COVID specifically, and, how you are delivering a worldwide standard so the children can go to school safely and be safe for their families. Do you mind speaking to that for a bit?
Shukriya, Najia. Yes, I would. And I'd also, I'm so glad that you joined the team with TCF USA in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio, that you and your friends are carrying the flag forward. And it's really a heartwarming thing for us, older folks. So talking about the COVID crisis, the first thing that TCF had to do in the COVID crisis was we had to sustain the communities, and we had to sustain our teachers and our staff. And so with the communities, all the 700 communities where TCF has its schools were selected for the very purpose that these are the poorest communities with the least amount of facilities. So these are also the hardest hit communities by COVID. So we knew we had to do something to do help with the COVID relief. We were very lucky. हमें लोग कहते थे कि आप अपने बच्चों को, अपने TCF के बच्चों को इनमें जज्बा दिलाएं कि they should give back. Well, that was a great idea, but we didn't have to give them the spirit. The spirit came automatically. All our alumni have been so beautiful in coming back and giving. Some have come back as teachers, some have come back as volunteers. And during COVID, all these volunteers, they had lived in these communities. They knew who needed food, who needed what kind of help. So with them, we were able to provide the relief for the families that needed the relief in these communities. The second thing was to sustain TCF and its teachers. As I mentioned, TCF has some of the most dedicated teachers. If you talk to them, you realize that it's not just a job for them, it's a cause. और उनकी मोहब्बत उनकी आंखों में, उनकी बातों में सब जाहिर होती है कि कितनी मोहब्बत से ये पढ़ाती हैं. So we had to make sure that we hung on to these teachers, and we had to make sure that they got their salaries. So we decided, regardless of whether the schools are closed or not, we'll keep the staff, the principals, and the teachers who are so valuable paid, and their salaries would be paid on time. And they were appreciative of that. The next thing that we had to do was to engage the children. And this is where the difference between the West and the East becomes very apparent. मगरिब में तो ज़्यादातर रईस लोग हैं, रईस भी नहीं है, तो उनकी इतनी आमदनी है कि वो उनके घर में इंटरनेट होता है, उनके घर में उनके बच्चों के पास कंप्यूटर होते हैं, 3-4 कमरे होते हैं. अगर बच्चों को दो तीन बच्चों को साथ कंप्यूटर पे पढ़ना होता है, so they can go to these different rooms and they can all study with their teachers peacefully. In Pakistan and in developing countries, this is not possible. The reach of the internet is spotty, the access to computers is spotty, and a lot of these families live in one-room houses. Whole families, large families, live in one-room homes. So it's not possible to isolate a child and them to isolate 2-3 different children and have them all be on the computer at the same time, even if they had computers. So that's when TCF's innovation came into being. First thing TCF did was they created a television program called Ilm Ka Angan, Courtyard of Knowledge. And that they persuaded 4 TV channels who, after seeing the program, thought this was worthwhile to air that program. And that program, in a very short time, got a viewership of 6 million children, which is amazing, which I'm sure you'll all be really happy to know. And these 6 million children were entertained and educated at the same time. In fact, they were educated in such a way that they thought they were being entertained, but they got educated. The other thing that we did was we took this Ilm Ka Angan name and we created a magazine. This magazine would be something that would be handed out to the students. The parents came to the schools and picked up these magazines, and then they took them home to their children, and these children were able to do exercises and play educational games in this magazine and read stories in this magazine. So, and there was such a wonderful magazine that other nonprofits and other schools came to us and said, could we have a few copies of these too for our children? So that was TCF's innovative way of doing distant learning with the magazine and with the TV programs. And hopefully we'll be able to use some of these ideas in other countries, and also after COVID to be able to reach more children. So this was a nice story to tell. The next step was reopening. The government announced that in September, the classes will reopen. That's when we had to make sure that we are prepared for the children. and we are keeping our children and our teachers safe while we are providing them education. So we set up the classrooms for distance learning, for distance social distancing between the children. We taught them the importance of wearing masks. We taught them the importance of wearing gloves. We taught them the importance of washing their hands, and all these safety protocols that you're seeing in these. By the way, if you go to a TCF school and you walk into one of the restrooms of the children, you'll see that they're just as spotless as the rest of the schools are. So here's a picture of the children washing their hands in the school. So we now have the 9th and 10th grade started functioning first, and then we're starting to get all the other classes one by one back into operation. And mashallah, children, we've been able to convince them all to come back to school. We're still working on enrollment. And the next thing, the last thing that we have to do is to sustain this work. This work that has been done with the sweat of so many people, the sweat of the staff of TCF, the sweat of the founders, the sweat of all of you supporters who have become part of the TCF family. We cannot allow this to go by the wayside. So we have to make sure that these 1,653 schools keep on running and keep on providing this knowledge and this future that Malcolm X talked about for the children of Pakistan. So that is the story in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Noorani. And you know what, I just want to highlight one point that, you know what, Northeast Ohio, I'm so proud of everything that you've done. You know, just in this time when we couldn't even do an event without, with just the simple campaigning, we raised $60,000 of our $65,000, you know, it was an adjusted goal because of the crisis. And so I know that you're generous, and I know that we're going to be able to sustain this good work. This was simply to actually show you what's happening on the ground here. You know, so a building is a building, land is land, but you cannot, a school is about obviously the activity that's going on inside. And I'm so excited. We saw Miss Saima in her video of her dream for a secondary school for girls. And we are so fortunate to have with us Miss Sundus, who is actually the principal of the TCF, the Taxila campus, the secondary school. So a little bit about her. She's from Hassan Abdal, which is near Taxila, and she's done her Master's in Commerce from Federal Urdu University, and she's been teaching in the private sector for more than 4 years. Sundus joined TCF in October 2019 as principal, and she's been appointed in this role, and we're so delighted to have her. So I wanted to say Assalamu alaikum to Sundus, and thank you for joining us today for this celebration. It was so important to meet you and see what you bring. So beyond your bio, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. First of all, I want to introduce myself. That my name is Sundar Siddiqui, and I'm from Hassan Abdal, which is near to the Taxila. Basically, I am from Kashmir. I have done Masters in Commerce from Federal Urdu University from Islamabad. Before joining TCF, I didn't know about what is TCF. जब मैंने अप्लाई किया, मुझे TCF के बारे में कुछ भी नहीं पता था, कोई आइडिया नहीं था. फिर मैंने काफ़ी इंफॉर्मेशन ली TCF के बारे में, सर्च किया मैंने, तो वहाँ से मुझे काफ़ी इंफॉर्मेशन मिली, मुझे काफ़ी हेल्प मिली कि TCF एक ऐसा इदारा है जो लेस प्रिविलेजेस एरियाज़ में एजुकेशन को सपोर्ट करता है, जिससे मैं काफ़ी इंस्पायर हुई कि ऐसे बच्चे जिनका ख्वाब है कि वो स्कूलों में जाएं, पढ़े लिखें, लेकिन उनके जो रिसोर्सेज हैं और जिसकी वजह से वो नहीं जा सकते, तो मैं काफ़ी इंस्पायर हुई. फिर जब मैंने TCF ज्वाइन किया, फिर मुझे आहिस्ता आहिस्ता पता लगा कि TCF की जो पॉलिसीज़ हैं, TCF का इन्वायरमेंट है, वो कितना सूटेबल है एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए. वो कैसे मीन्स प्रोवाइड करता है, कैसे एबिलिटीज प्रोवाइड करता है, एबिलिटीज इन्हांस करता है अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ को। तो मेरे लिए इससे बढ़कर कोई मोटिवेशन हो भी नहीं सकती कि ऐसे बच्चों को जो आज तक मैंने सीखा है, मैं उन बच्चों को की लाइफ में थोड़ा सा कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकूं। नाउ आई फील प्राउड टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ TCF.
That's wonderful. And you know what? We are absolutely proud to have you as well. I think you're, you know, the principal, the teachers are always role models for the young women. And in talking to you and preparing for this event, I think that you are very, very well positioned. We're very lucky. So do you mind explaining for our audience today the makeup of the Taxila campus, the number of primary schools, what makes up the cluster, the shifts, that sort of thing, the mechanics of the school campus?
बेसिकली टक्सला में 2 कैंपसेस हैं और जिसमें 5 यूनिट एट अ टाइम वर्क कर रहे हैं। लाइक पहले सैयद निज़ामुद्दीन हुसैन शाह के नाम से 15 ईयर से स्कूल चल रहा है, जिसमें मॉर्निंग शिफ्ट है और आफ्टरनून शिफ्ट है। देन 15 मिनट के डिस्टेंस पे दूसरी बिल्डिंग है जो कि TCF सेकेंडरी एंड प्राइमरी, जो कि टोटल 3 प्राइमरी एंड 2 सेकेंडरी यूनिट, जिसमें टोटल जो है वो 600 to 700 स्टूडेंट जो है एजुकेशन हासिल करेंगे इंशाल्लाह। और टीचर्स जो हैं वो मोर देन 20 विद नॉन फैकल्टी। और यहाँ पे मैं एक चीज़ ऐड करना चाहूँगी, जैसे जो बच्चे हमारे पास आ रहे हैं, जो 600 to 700 स्टूडेंट्स हैं, उनमें से कुछ के पेरेंट्स जो हैं वो नहीं है, कुछ की मदर्स जो हैं वो घर को सपोर्ट कर रही हैं, लाइक किसी के घर में एज अ हेल्पर काम करके, या किसी फैक्ट्री में डेली वेजेस पे काम करती हैं, या किसी के फादर मजदूरी कर रहे होते हैं जो मुश्किल से 2 वक्त का खाना ही पूरा कर सकते हैं, और किसी के पेरेंट्स तो नशा भी करते हैं। मतलब बहुत सारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो किराए के घरों में रह रहे हैं। घर तो नहीं कह सकते, एक छोटा सा रूम कह सकते हैं। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ऐसे भी हैं जो एक रूम में अपनी बड़ी फैमिलीज के साथ रह रहे हैं। तो मेरे ख्याल से उन सब का फ्यूचर जो है उनको उन्होंने TCF की वजह से सेव होना है, और वो ये समझते हैं कि जैसे हमने लाइफ गुजारी है, ऐसे हमारे जो बच्चे हैं वो ऐसी लाइफ ना गुजारें, वो एजुकेशन हासिल करके कोई रिस्पेक्टेबल काम करके और अपनी फैमिली को आगे रन कर सकें।
So I love that. I mean, and I think that that's what people should understand, that when you put a school of that type in a community, there's a cultural shift. There's a value proposition that's ascribed to education, and a desire to do different things for those girls. Sindus, Mr. Noorani spoke of, you know, the protocols that were in place, that have been put in place to manage the COVID crisis right now. Can you talk a little bit again on a micro level, what's happening? What are the difficulties that in terms of getting masks and other PPE, or what are the challenges meeting the demand of COVID-19 right now?
कोविड-19 itself ही बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लिए। अब जैसे स्कूल की रीओपनिंग हुई है, स्टूडेंट्स तो बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड थे, लेकिन जैसे ही हमने एडमिशन स्टार्ट करना शुरू हुए, या हमारे जो पुराने एडमिशन्स थे, तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा लॉस भी हुए थे। वो इस वजह से हुए थे क्योंकि कोविड-19 की वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा उनको बहुत ज़्यादा सामना करना पड़ा मुश्किलात का। उनके पास कोई अर्निंग नहीं थी, तो वो उन्होंने अपने बच्चों को किसी ना किसी काम पे लगा दिया था, या जो बड़ी गर्ल्स थी उनकी शादियां करवा दी थी। तो अभी भी हमें ये इस चैलेंज का सामना करना पड़ा। तो हमने पूरे स्टाफ ने मिलकर फिर हमने कम्युनिटी विजिट्स किए, पेरेंट्स से कांटेक्ट किया, उनको मोटिवेट किया कि एक थोड़ा सा हमें इशू होता है, जो एक थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम है, ये सॉल्व हो जाएगा, इसके लिए हम एजुकेशन को स्किप नहीं कर सकते। तो बहुत से पेरेंट्स ने भी रियलाइज़ करवाया है, तो अब जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो स्कूल में आ रहे हैं और बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड भी हैं।
Well, that's wonderful. So I have a question for you on a personal level, as a woman, as an educator. What kind of dreams do you have for these girls in general?
Yes, as a Pakistani citizen, my also dream is every girl should be educated and independent, जो कि अपने हर मसाइल को खुद वो strongly face कर सके और आगे बढ़ सके जितना वो चाहे.
Do you have a personal story to share that you could tell us about? A personal story about one of your students?
Yes, मैं मेंशन करूँगी मेरी एक स्टूडेंट लास्ट ईयर 5 में ग्रेजुएट हुई थी, निगाह ज़ारा नाम है उनका. तो वो तब स्कूल ओपन नहीं हुआ था, बिल्डिंग अभी प्रोसेस में थी. तो वो उस बच्ची के पेरेंट्स उसको बाकी स्कूल्स में नहीं भेजना चाह रहे थे. लाइक जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल है वो तो बहुत ज़्यादा दूर था, वो उसके लिए पॉसिबल नहीं था. तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा सैड हो गई थी कि अभी मैं ग्रेजुएट हो जाऊंगी तो मैंने आगे एडमिशन नहीं ले सकूंगी. तो फिर मैंने उन्हें टाइम दिया कि मे बी 1 ईयर बाद जो है स्कूल कंप्लीट हो जाए तो आप इसको छोड़ना नहीं, स्टडीज़ को नहीं छोड़ना. तो अभी जब स्कूल 1 ईयर बाद जब स्कूल ओपन हुआ है, तो जब न्यू स्कूल ओपन हुआ सेकेंडरी स्कूल फॉर गर्ल्स, तो फिर मैंने उन पेरेंट्स से कांटेक्ट किया कि ऐसे स्कूल ओपन हो गया, एडमिशन्स ओपन हो गए हैं, तो आप अपनी बेटे का एडमिशन वहाँ पे करवाएं. तो 1 साल जो है उन्होंने स्टडीज़ नहीं की इसी वजह से. अगर टीसीएफ ना होता तो वो बच्ची कभी भी अपनी आगे स्टडीज कंटिन्यू ना रख पाती. तो टीसीएफ की वजह से निगाह ज़ारा की तरह हर उस बच्ची का ख्वाब पूरा हो गया है, जो कि बाकी जैसे बाकी कम्युनिटीज़ में लड़कियां पढ़ रही हैं, लेकिन ऐसी जो बैकवर्ड कम्युनिटीज़ हैं यहाँ पे ख्वाब था जो कि टीसीएफ ने सेकेंडरी स्कूल फॉर गर्ल्स बना के टेक्सला कम्युनिटी का जो ख्वाब है वो पूरा कर दिया.
Well, you know what? I mean, thank you. Thank you for being the heart and soul of this campus. And we're very, very lucky again to have you. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. I think everyone was delighted to meet you. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, I hope you were delighted in terms of what you've seen, in terms of what this campus is doing. And I want to change gears a little bit. And we have a wonderful keynote program that's going to be inspiring. I mean, you know that I've always tried to put forth programming that is geared towards education for girls and girls who rock and just, you know, girls who inspire. And to that end, I have brought Ms. Sadia Siddiq and Ms. Madia Sultan to talk to us a little bit about their stories of passion and perseverance and what they've accomplished. So I'm going to start with introducing Sadia. Sadia Yasin Siddiq is the co-founder of Miasa. It's the hottest new shoe brand in Karachi. Ms. Siddiq was always fascinated by artisanal and handmade accessories. She's had a particular interest and love of shoes that urged her to start her own footwear brand. With no formal training in footwear manufacturing or construction, the self-taught, passion that she managed to create a luxury brand that now boasts a cult following. Ms. Siddiq will be sharing her story of how education, hard work, and passion kept her dream ignited and enabled her to achieve success. Today, Miasa has a standalone flagship store in the heart of Karachi and an e-store that caters to a nationwide and international clientele. So Sadia, welcome, and thank you so much for participating in our program today.
Thank you so much for having me. Let me start off and just start introducing myself again. Thank you, Nadia, for that introduction. My name is Sadia, and I'm the co-founder of a brand called Miasa Shoes. I want to thank you all for inviting me to this forum to share my journey with you. So to start off, let me tell you a little bit about the brand. Sorry. I'm not able to share my screen. Sorry, guys, technical issue.
Kiran?
Yeah, let me do that. Okay, she got it.
Okay. Is that working? Sorry.
Yes, you can just click on present on top. There you go.
Oh my God. Sorry, guys, please excuse. Okay, we'll just go like this. So Miyasa Shoes is a luxury footwear brand founded in 2016 by myself and my business partner, Myra Sheikh. Myra is a graduate of Babson University, and I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. While our careers span in the fields of advertising, marketing, and retail, as Nadia mentioned, neither one of us has any formal training in footwear design or manufacturing. Miyasa was actually born purely as a passion-led project. But that being said, everyone has passions. What my education contributed to was helping me transform that passion into a reality, to start taking tangible measures towards market research, towards costing, towards viable ways of actually turning my dream into a reality and actually starting a business from scratch. We started the first year of our business actually serving a lot of trade fairs across the globe. And we ended up in Milan at one of the most prestigious trade fairs called Linea Pelle. As you all know, Italian shoes are the best in kind, and Italy is the hub of footwear manufacturing. While I was serving this fair, I came across these beautiful hand embroideries being traded at exorbitant prices. And I thought to myself, these skills are native to the women of Sindh, of Balochistan, of Punjab. What was I doing in Italy being so inspired by them? It was the same with the skins of leather. I saw buyers from Sergio Rossi queued up outside a booth called Shafi Tannery, which is one of the best tanneries in Karachi today. And I had a eureka moment. I thought to myself that if the most luxurious sourcing fair in Italy was displaying products native to my own home country, what was stopping me from making shoes just as good as the Italian ones? Which brings me to my first lesson. Education is a foundation that teaches you how to think, not only what to think. It was my exposure to this fair and observing what was going on around me that helped me understand what Miyasa should really stand for. And that's actually the ethos of my brand today. Coming back to Pakistan, it was quite evident to me what Miyasa should stand for. It was going to fuse together traditional craftsmanship, ethnic skills, central to my own homeland, and it was going to be fused with the best manufacturing techniques that were being implemented in the factories of Italy. We launched our brand with an e-store that catered to a nationwide clientele, and with the drop of our first collection, we were an instant hit. But that brings me to the second part of my journey. The shoes we were making were extremely unique. If you look at these designs, every petal here is cut by hand. It's actually made by women in rural Sindh, in rural Balochistan. If you look on the left, on that heel, every whip stitch in that petal, again, is done by hand by these craftsmen, by these women. Each one of these leaves, again, assembled by hand, and it takes about 80 leaves to assemble one upper. So the problem that I was faced with was that I had a brand, I existed in the market, but how was I going to grow it? How was I going to produce these shoes at massive scale? I could have hired 100 factory workers, but as a small business, did I have the funds to do so? No, not at all. And that leads me to my second lesson, that you have to change the way you think. When you're faced with a problem, be it in business or anything, if you have a good education, it gives you the basis to think outside of the box. It gives you the basis to think critically. And that's exactly what I did. I started looking towards global case studies to find solutions to the business problem that I was faced with and to a problem that was unique to me. What we ended up doing was that we found localities where these craftsmen and women resided, and we started creating production hubs in various places of Karachi where we provided employment on a per piece basis. What that meant was that men and women, they could come, they could work freely with no enforced working hours and no minimum quantities that they had to deliver. The reason why we did this is because Pakistan is a country where workers, even though they are immensely skilled, they are faced with a lot of traditional and cultural barriers of living in third world countries. For instance, the women, they didn't have access to mobility. They couldn't leave their homes from 9 to 5 and actually work in a traditional factory setting. So when we established this system, these production hubs actually facilitated them working on their own terms, on their own timelines. We actually had production managers hand out material, and when a piece was returned, it was QC'd by them and wages were paid. we started to see a large influx of people who wanted to take this on. Some of them who wanted to come and work at our facility where electricity and food was provided, and some of them who just wanted to take the work home. If they wanted to weave one piece in a day over a chai break, they were free to do so. And if they wanted to get together and actually embroider an entire meter of fabric, they were free to do so. It also actually, that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly how we scaled our production. We also managed to provide training to these people because high quality standards were explained to them by our production managers, and we actually paid higher than market wages to these people so that they would realize the potential of their own skin. We now have a flagship store in the heart of Karachi where all the products made by these artisans are displayed. We provide bespoke shoes to some of the top designers in Karachi, namely Nisha Lakhani and Khatija Shah. Our shoes have been displayed on the runway consecutively for the past 2 years at Bridal Week and at Fashion Week, which brings me to lesson number 3, that entrepreneurship is not an easy road. It's an uphill climb with many, many challenges along the way. But if you have a good education, it gives you the confidence to embark on any journey, to make the impossible possible, and actually grab the bull by its horns. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't have training in footwear design, in manufacturing, but I managed to build a career out of it, to build a brand with a name, and actually make my dreams into a reality. And that also brings me to TCF, because it's an organization that values and it provides education to the underprivileged and provides education to women. If the women that we employ had a formal education, I have no doubt that their products would be displayed on a global forum. And they need organizations like TCF to actually provide the education foundation for their children and for their daughters so that they can become the leaders and entrepreneurs of tomorrow, like myself, like Madiha, and like all the wonderful people that I've worked with in TCF. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Sadia. That was wonderful. And it was my good fortune to be able to actually meet you this past trip. So thank you for participating. Our second speaker, Madiha Sultan Tai, is the co-founder and CEO of Lal's, a Karachi-based patisserie and chocolate brand. After completing her education in Canada, she returned to Karachi to start her own chocolate brand in 2006. Her curiosity and interest in chocolate making challenged the industry standards in Pakistan. With passion and a growth mindset, Madiha and her team have expanded their brand to include cafes, a patisserie, and a gourmet chocolate store in two of Pakistan's largest cities. For her passion and positive attitude, Madiha was recently awarded the Pond's Miracle Woman Award. Madiha will be sharing her motivational journey of passion and commitment that turned her dream into a reality. Madiha, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure you're all tired by now. Well, at least for Karachi, it's very late. So I'm Madiha Sultan, and I'm the CEO of Lal's Chocolates. So Lal's was founded by my mother in 2007. A little bit about her. My mother, Lal, was born and raised in Peshawar, Pakistan. She was one of 8 siblings. And as a child, she was dyslexic. So she never did that well academically because she struggled to read and write. Her parents really worried for her. And while her other siblings went on to pursue a higher education, they chose for her to be married at the age of 17. She did, however, get a solid foundation from the convent school, even though soon after she left her family home and moved to Karachi as a married woman. For 25 years, she was a housewife and devoted her time to raising her children as she knew best. Once my brother and I left for college, my mom started a small business providing gift wrapping services for a select clientele. She would wrap chocolates they had brought from abroad, mithai, other things. And after doing this for a few years, she realized there's really no luxury chocolate readily available in Pakistan. Now, this woman is a doer, right? It did not matter to her that she had no prior knowledge or any chocolate industry contacts. She simply jumped into the deep end. She found a way to make things happen. I had just graduated from college and I was on my way back from Boston. I stopped in Dubai to meet my mother. She was there looking for chocolate suppliers and she asked me to accompany her on this mission. She literally went around to all the chocolate shops in Dubai and asked them, are you producing your own chocolates? And wherever the taste was good enough, she said, will you contract manufacture for me? She finally located a small family-owned company that agreed to produce under her brand name, Lal's. When we started Lal's, the idea was to sell chocolates in beautiful packaging. We wanted to create an experience through our products and our stores that allowed those who came to us or that those who received one of our beautiful boxes to feel transported to another place. Before Lal's was established, the affluent Pakistani would buy all their chocolate on their foreign trips. She believed that there was just no need for that. Handmade chocolate sold in locally made packaging designed by graduates of Karachi's best design school would be better than any imported brand. And I had this idea that our stores would embody this belief, right? We wanted them to be urban escapes, a place you walk into and you immediately forget the hectic hustle and chaos of Karachi life or the roads. So we wanted to up the standards for good chocolate and for pastry here, as well as for retail interiors. We needed to show people that Pakistani products are amazing products, okay? And it should not come as a surprise. We have incredibly talented makers and designers here, and those of them who have the right tools and the right education have gone on to produce fantastic work. Today, 12 years later, Lal's is Pakistan's #1 chocolate brand. We're available nationwide through our outlets. We retail close to 150 products. The Lal's brand is very well recognized in Pakistan and by Pakistanis abroad. And Lal Majid herself, my mother, is now an award-winning published author. So not too bad for a girl with such humble beginnings. I want to talk about what makes us successful. I believe it's our grit, right? My mother believes nothing is impossible. Kind of like how Salim said, right? He didn't want to take no for an answer. In 2007, she tried, we both tried this delicacy in Paris called the French macaroon. For anyone here who's eaten one, it's a delicious cookie, but incredibly tough to make. Macaroons require certain humidity controls, just the right heating element in an oven, in a very skilled hand. For our business at that time, it would have been a great product. So she tried to make them using a recipe book I had brought back, but she couldn't get it right. She kept trying, she kept failing, she kept trying, but she isn't one to give up easily. And remember, my mother's dyslexic, and it's very difficult for her to comprehend the written word. So especially in English, which isn't her native tongue. So she would make me and other people read the recipes to her, and she kept trying. Without any formal training in pastry, she kept at it for over a year, until one day, she finally got it right. Today, it's a best-selling product and one that differentiates us from our competition. A little about me. After graduating from a private school in Karachi, I went abroad to study at excellent universities. I had some good job offers there. So why did I choose to come back to Pakistan and then choose to stay here? Well, one was to see what opportunities I could explore here. And also my mother was starting a business, so the idea of being with the startup was exciting at the time. But why did I choose to stay? It's because I have a deep sense of belonging, because I did grow up here, and also because I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to, and I still want to give back to the country and to the community that shaped my life growing up. I also knew then that the way Pakistan is perceived in the West is not what it is. It's a place of tremendous potential, of wonderful people. And while the whole global system is really, set up against small, poor countries like ours, it is us, the people from here, who can completely and totally change our fate, and of those that we impact through our work. I chose to create a brand that emanates from Pakistan, but it can be found in any major city in the world and compete there. I could not have done this without a solid education. It's in school and university where I was taught the tools to forge a career, right? It wasn't so much what I studied, but that I learned to learn. And that is what has helped me get where I am today. And this is why I'm here to talk to all of you. This is why I want to talk to all of you about the importance of giving, and especially to organizations like the Citizens Foundation that are educating the underprivileged youth. Your dollars have tremendous impact here in Pakistan, and you have the power to make a real difference while fulfilling your sense of duty to those less fortunate than you. While some of us are questioning the future of higher education globally, it is so different for those of us who come from privilege and access and open doors. For the underprivileged child in Pakistan, the Citizens Foundation is that door. It provides them a safe haven away from their stressful home environments. TCF educates them, lifts their spirits. It gives them a belief that they can do better. I have goosebumps just thinking about, just talking about this. One of their differentiating factors is their focus on uplifting the communities they're in. When I look at TCF and the students, I believe that those who attend their schools are taught that they aren't limited to where their parents came from and what they may have achieved. They can be different and they can make their own paths. And lastly, I know this has gone on for a while. Lastly, what really stands out for me about TCS is if you look at any Citizens Foundation campus, it shines in the community where it's built. It's clean, it's purpose-built, and it transports those who enter it from their daily lives and that hustle and that chaos to a place of higher purpose. To me, the TCF school is an architectural symbol of hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhya, for that impassioned speech about you and about TCF. It's wonderful to have people from Pakistan talk about how important it is, what it means to their city and their community as well. So thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for attending. We're at the end. In the chat box, if you have, any of our panelists that were here today, if you have any questions for them, you can ask them in the chat section, or you can ask them directly. We can unmute. Otherwise, we'll give you a couple of minutes. Does anyone have any questions? You can put your hand up and we can go right to you. Well, you know what? I just want to thank you so much for all taking time out of your Sunday. My Karachiotes, thank you so much. I know it's late on Sunday. God bless you all. Just thank you very much. For those of you who haven't donated this year, if you can, every small amount helps. For those of you who have, thank you so much, and continue to keep TCF in your list of annual giving. You can see that they do great work. So and stay tuned. We hope to do a very nice event in 2021. I didn't mean to say 2022, but anyway, so thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.